Dear students, in the first part we have learned about the different states of matter and also the molecules, that is the placement of the molecules in different states, and we have also observed many activities related to the movement of the molecules. Now in this part we will be seeing the changes of states from one state to the other state in detail. Change of states. Water changes into water vapor on heating and to ice on cooling. So this also I had shown you the activity where there was a water in a cup, that is a liquid form. Then when that water is freezed, you get the ice cube, and when water is boiled or during the boiling of water, you get to see the vapors moving out, that is the steam, that is the gaseous form. So all these things you have seen in that activity. Thus water changes into water vapor when you boil it, and also when you freeze the water, it gets the form of a ice cube. Matter can change from one state to another when it is heated and cooled. So here only we got the example. When the matter is heated or it is cooled, so it will go on changing its state. Its state means from one state to the other, that is the solid to liquid or the liquid to gas. So like this there will be change regarding the state of matter. So here you have a picture, here the ice cube, that is because of freezing. So here this ice cube, when it melts, it gets the liquid form. Again here because of evaporation, so the steam or the water vapor goes, it is because of evaporation and it gets the gaseous form. Again when there is condensation, you get the liquid form, and again when this liquid is freezed, you get the solid form. So like this the matter goes on changing its state. Different changes of state that can occur in matter. So how this changes occur? So there are different state or different changes you can see. So how these changes take place? One is the melting, the other one is the evaporation, one more is condensation and freezing. So you have all the pictures here. So melting, you have the picture, the melting of the ice cube, then evaporation. So here the water vapor is going because of the heat of or because of heating of that liquid. Now condensation. So here you have the moisture in the environment. So how it gets condensed and you can see the water droplets. So this is the picture I think most of you have seen, especially the glasses of your vehicles. So this I think all of you might have experienced. Next one is the freezing. So because of freezing, how the water changes to the ice cube. Now here the first one is the melting. Example, butter and ice. I have given you butter and ice. So all of us have seen that when we apply butter to the hot toast of bread, when you apply butter to the hot toast of bread, so you can see the melting of butter. The butter melts. One more is ice. Ice cube, when you take out of the freezer and keep it outside, then you see that the ice cube also goes on melting and it gets the liquid form. Solid is heated, it melts to form a liquid. When solid is heated, it melts to form a liquid. Solids, when heated, molecules start vibrating faster. So we all have learnt about the properties of the solid, that the molecules of the solid, it is very intact, it is very close to each other and they just vibrate there. But when the solid is heated, what happens? The molecules start vibrating faster. Thus, they overcome the strong force of attraction. So, the force of attraction between or among the molecules, that is intermolecular force. So, that force will be overcome. They will overcome that force, and thus the force of attraction also gets reduced. They start moving around, and because of heating, the molecules, they start moving around. The process is called melting. So, the process in which you see that the molecules overcome the force of attraction and they become very free in their movement and they start melting. So, that procedure is called as melting. Next is evaporation. So, you have the picture here. The process by which a liquid changes into vapor on heating is called evaporation. The process wherein you see that the liquid changes to the form of the gas, or here it is the vapor. Vapor is the gaseous form, that is called as evaporation. So, very simple example is when you boil the water, you see the steam going out of that. The other one is when we dry the cloths which we have washed, they will have moisture in it, but because of the sunlight or the heat of the sun, the moisture in it gets evaporated and the cloths get dried. So, this is also the example, and the water in a small pond or lake also get dried up during summer. That is also the process of evaporation, where because of the heat of the sun, the water gets evaporated. So, here also molecules in liquid start moving faster on heating. So, even in liquids, when the heating takes place, molecules start moving faster and they overcome the intermolecular force, and because of that they start, or there will be movement, that is here overcome intermolecular force of attraction and starts to move out freely. So, they start moving out freely. Thus, the liquid changes into vapor on heating. So, thus the change of state occurs. Condensation. Water vapor in air cools down due to cold surroundings. It changes into water droplets. So, one picture you have that the glass of your vehicles, because of the cold weather, the water vapor that is there in the surrounding, it cools down and thus it changes into water droplets. The other one is, usually most of us might have experienced this, that during this cold weather, when we move about without covering our hair, the water vapor that is there in the air, that also cools down and makes our hair very cold or wet, and we feel somewhat irritated, or we may feel, or we may get headache also, and your hair becomes very cool when you touch that, and this most of us might have got experience. So, that is also called as condensation. The process by which a vapor changes into its liquid form on cooling is called condensation. So, the process by which a vapor or the vapors in the environment or in the air that changes into the liquid form on cooling is called condensation. So, here one more example is cold water in a glass. Very cold water, if you keep it in a glass and within few minutes you can see that you get the water droplets at the outer surface of that glass because of that condensation. So, these are all the examples for condensation. Now, freezing. The process by which a liquid changes into its solid state on cooling is called freezing. So, usually the liquid changes into solid form on cooling, that is called as freezing. Very easy example is the ice cube. If you keep the water in a ice tray and keep it inside the freezer, and later on if you take it out, you will get the ice cubes. So, example, when water is put in a freezer, it turns into ice. It happens when a liquid is cooled. So, here the liquid is cooled. The molecules attract each other. So, here what happens? The molecules attract each other more and become tightly packed. So, when it is under freezing process, what happens? The molecules attract each other and they become tightly packed. Thus, the liquid changes to its solid form. So, this is a picture, and this type of process you might have also seen in the surroundings or environment, especially where it is very cold weather. So, you can see the ice form on the trees or even on the ground, everything. So, that is also is called as freezing, especially in your poles, the North Pole or the South Pole. Now, the effects of heating and cooling. So, heating and cooling, both the procedures gave us the different types in, that is the different changes that occur in the states of matter. Now, what are the effects of this heating and cooling? So, one is expansion. The effect is expansion. Molecules of a substance vibrate more on heating. So, usually when you heat any matter or a substance, the molecules of that substance, they vibrate more. Extra space is needed for vibrating more. So, thus the space gets extended. Thus, increases the volume of that substance. Increase in the volume of a substance due to heating is called expansion. So, due to heating, what happens? There will be, the expansion of the volume. So, there will be increase in the volume, and thus the process is called as expansion. Solids expand very little, liquids more than solids. So, liquids expand more than solids, and gases expand the most on heating. The gases expand the most on heating. Now, here you have a picture of the thermometer. So, we use this thermometer especially to check the fever or the body temperature. So, what is the process there? So, when we use this thermometer to check the temperature, because of the temperature of the body, the mercury in the thermometer, it goes on increasing in that thin tube because of the body temperature, and thus we can come to know how there is a difference in the body temperature. So, that is also one example for this expansion. Contraction. When things are cooled, the molecules vibrate lesser. When things are cooled, the molecules vibrate lesser. Molecules come close to each other and need less space. So, now the molecules come close to each other and they need less space. Decrease in the volume of a substance due to cooling is called contraction. Because the molecules come closer to each other, there will be decrease in the volume, and this is called as contraction. So, this is the definition. Solids contract the least. So, you can see contraction in the solids in the least form. Liquids contract more than solids. Gases contract the most on cooling. So, the gases, they contract the most on cooling. So, this is the process of contraction. Changes in our surroundings. Because of all these process, the evaporation, the contraction, or the different type, that is the melting, the freezing, all these things, all this process, they have their effects on the surroundings also, the changes in our surroundings. Many changes take place around us. Evaporation and freezing of water, ripening of fruits, and growth of plants and animals. So, all these are the changes that you see in the environment. Freezing of water, evaporation of water, now ripening of the fruit. So, when there is a fruit on a tree, so you might have also seen that those fruits, they ripen even in the plant itself, or once they are to the level of getting ripened, we can remove it and keep, and they get ripened. So, all these are the changes in the environment. Now, here is the growth of the plant. If we plant a seedling, or if we just sow the seeds. If you plant the seedlings or if we sow the seeds, you get to see that the plants grow very well, or the plant comes out of the seed. So, that is also the change, and also the growth of animals. Now, changes. So, there are two types of changes, that is physical change and chemical change. So, there are two types, physical change and chemical change. Physical change. New substance is formed. So, usually when it comes to physical change, a new substance is formed. As I gave you the example, when you sow a seed, so you will get a plant from that. A new substance is formed, then easily gets back the original substance. Water, here example, how in that physical change you can get back the original substance. So, here water freezing. So, when water is freezed, you get the ice. Again, when ice is melted, you get the water. So, that is one example where you can come to know how that original form can be got back. So, there are many more examples here. Blowing of the balloon, then mixing of the sand with water, tearing the paper. So, these are the examples for the physical changes. Chemical change. More new substances are formed, cannot get back the original substance. So, especially when it comes to chemical change, you get many more substance formed, but you cannot get back the original substance. So, that is the difference between the physical change and the chemical change. Burning of paper. So, when you burn the paper, what do you get? You get ash and smoke. So, when you are burning, the smoke comes out of that. So, that is one chemical change, and then the ash. Cooking food, then burning fuels, then rusting of iron. So, these are rusted nails. So, rusting of iron, then decomposition of dead plants and animals. So, when the plants or animals, when they die, or the human beings, when they die, they start getting decomposed. So, that is also one chemical change you see in the environment or in our surroundings. So, you have come to know the states of matter, the three states, then the placements of molecules and how they get attracted to each other, and also have come to know the changes in the states of matter, how that changes. One matter changes its state from one to the other, and also the different changes that occur in the surroundings or in your environment. So, first part, it is in detail about the changes of the state or the states of matter, and here you have got so many points regarding all these aspects. So, see the videos, both the videos, and you have got your textbooks, read the lesson and revise it. Thank you, children.